where I hold on to my own inner dignity, values, and virtues, not allowing the scenes of the drama to override me. Is that a possibility? That in the midst of chaos, in the midst of the crowd, that I could still be in that safe haven, connected to my true self, just like a turtle would get into the shell and feel so secured and safe. It's not hiding, but it is safe and secured. So, to explore on this topic of detachment and its connection with inner freedom. Outside, I might be locked up in a room in quarantine or so, whatever it would be. But the inner freedom, to key to that is detachment. So we have Sister Sherry, who is also a head teacher by profession and has been practicing Raj Yoga for a good number of years now. And she's not a stranger. So welcome, Sister Sherry, and take us on this beautiful journey of freedom. Om Shanti. And welcome to everyone in person and also on Zoom.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And everyone hear me?
Yes, we
A
can hear
little
you, Sister
louder.
Sharon.
Okay, I'll speak up a bit louder. Good evening once again. And as usual, I am very much happy to be here. I know that I'm not there in person, but it's just to me, we're all together, whether we are on Zoom or in person. Um, is a community come together here. Thanks for the technology because I wasn't able to make it in person, which in being in person is much better, to have that rapport and to feel a vibration there personally. But due to circumstances, I cannot come in person as yet. So it's a case where I will be able to come in person, but for now, I will have to have this session in Zoom. Sister Kinry, you said something that, you know, if it's possible to have that inner freedom amidst the chaos that is going on around you, you know, and I'm going to answer that question. Yes, definitely yes. But it depends on where we are at individually. Where are we on our spiritual journey? Everybody is not the same. Everybody is not at the same pace, It is possible. And if you had asked that question maybe 5 years ago, I would have said no. I would have said no. But because of experience and learning and coming to the Raja Yoga Center and because of the teachings and so on, I have taken a different path and I know that it is possible. So before the program commenced, I was I was listening to the commentary, and the commentator was talking about harmonizing the five senses. And then, I'm reminded there and then that sometimes our eyes could be deceptive. Our hearing could also be deceptive. And because when we look out with the physical eyes and we listen with the physical ear, we would hear things that maybe is not what we think it is. We may see things that is not what it is. Sometimes it's just a misunderstanding and so on. That is why the commentary, I didn't get to really get all the essence of it, but in summary, the commentary is talking about harmonizing the five senses and working together with them in a productive way to get the best results in how you relate to others, how you relate to persons around you. So the commentary also talk about having this inner conversation with the five senses. And I was like, wow, because it coincided with the topic of detachment. It is related. So I said, wow, this is so wonderful that we have the commentary that kind of, sums up part of what I will talk about. As usual, I like a rapport. I don't like to be talking all the time. So from time to time, I would ask person to give their input. So let me just get into the topic of detachment, the key to inner freedom, learning to observe life's scenes without becoming emotionally trapped. So detachment is kind of misunderstood sometimes by some of us, by some persons, because they look at it from a physical standpoint. But our discussion is mainly based on the spiritual standpoint. But I will not go into the spiritual without, making mention of the physical, what it means to detach, right? So if you look at a dictionary early monster, the word detach means to separate yourself, right? And to right? But on a spiritual standpoint, especially from a Raja Yoga perspective, detachment just means to have deep love and a feeling of love, wisdom combined, and doing things in this way, such a way that it doesn't anchor you, it doesn't control you. You do it with this knowing that, look, I am doing this here, I'm performing this role, and nothing could anchor me down, nothing could hold me down. I am just doing a role that I just play a part. So because of we are spiritually connect with that side of our spiritual beings, it is if we look at things from a spiritual perspective. So detachment doesn't mean that, you become cold, uncaring, unfeeling, and just withdraw yourself, from responsibilities, so on. That's not what it means. You know, it just means being peaceful, as I said, while fulfilling our everyday responsibility. Can we do that? How can we do that? Right? So, first of all, you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself. Who am I? By now, I'm certain that persons on this call will recognize that we are more than just the body. I think even if you never had any teaching, you're not a Raja Yoga student or so, I think we are in this awareness now that we are more than just the body. And most times we connect more with our physical senses, with the physicality around us, than to in tune with the spiritual part. For those of us who haven't we weren't on this journey and we were now starting out. So I always like to give example as to experiences that I would have had. But before I get to that, right, I will just tell you the main objective this evening, right, is to understand how spiritual detachment frees the mind from emotional bondage while allowing us to love and serve more sincerely. So it's a case where we must be in the world, but not of the world. We must be in the world, but not of the world. So I could remember with my experience where I was a UG student at the time, attending the University of Guyana. And when I started off in the class, it was very competitive. So my aim and objective at that time wasn't to understand the content, wasn't to understand the content to the extent where I could relate it back into my field of work. My main objective was getting A's. So the class was very competitive and I would study late at night. I would put in that effort. And if I don't get A grade, I would be upset. And today when I look back at that, I realize it doesn't matter. You know, the whole aim was to get a distinction because I wanted a recognition. And today I look back, when you have a pass, a credit, or a distinction, at the end of the day, you're a graduate. It doesn't matter. You're a graduate student. But the most important thing is to use the knowledge that you have and incorporate it into your everyday life, into the world of work. Because the whole objective is not just to benefit you, but to have that knowledge to be a more effective educator, more effective teacher. But why I bring that up is because not getting A sometimes caused me a lot of distress. I was upset about it. You know, I wasn't the only one. Myself and the group that I was with, we had this objective that we must graduate with a distinction and all of that. And fast forward today, we realize that, hey, it doesn't matter. So sometimes, we are due to ambition and due to competitiveness and indoctrination from parents and friends and so on, it kind of push you in a direction that, if you're spiritually grounded, you won't go. Because now nobody can tell me that, look, you try and work hard to get an A grade. It doesn't matter. So what is detachment really? What it is, before we go any further, what is it really? Right? What does it mean to be detached? So it really means remaining emotionally stable, as Sister King we would have said in the introduction, irrespective of what is happening around me. Um, Acting without ego, you know, like boasting up yourself. This is my ambition, this is my job, this is my career, and so on. Yes, you could say, but now with ego, you say it in a way that is not cementing anything or creating any bondage. Loving without possessing, loving someone without possessing or controlling them, and loving everybody too, not just one set of person. Loving everyone, just have that love for everyone. Caring without controlling, serving without expecting recognition. So detachment is all about inner freedom, but not indifference. So it is not a case where when we say detached, let us say, for example, someone hurt your feelings or someone did something real bad to you, you know, it's not about harboring that hurt for years and years without, letting go of it. And here again, I'm going to give a next example. When I first started teaching, I could remember a senior teacher. When you're young and you come on the job, they would ask you to do things and so on. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know that other staff member told me that, this person is taking advantage of you, and because you're new and so on, you know, she's doing these things. So it wasn't something nice. I don't want to explain it, but I don't want to share that aspect, but what she did, it really hurt me. So my first impulse is to withdraw. So I'm detaching. And I'll give you an example as to the whole misconception. So I stopped saying anything to her. When I see her, I would avoid her as much as possible. And like the entire term passed where I didn't say anything to that individual. It so happened that at the time when I was like 17, 18, I don't think I reached, I didn't, I just started, so I was 17. And other persons were encouraging me. They said, oh, yes, don't have anything to do with her. So we had a business on the road where we would sell confectionaries and so on. So every afternoon after work, I would go out and I would, take over the business and do the selling and so on. And this lady came to me and she apologized. I know she said she was sorry, that she was wrong and all of that. And, when I think about it, and I'm just using the story as reference because when I was planning the presentation, it came back to me. And I said that, she really did something good. She really did something courageous because a lot of persons would not have apologized to me, to anyone who is so young now on the job. And, that lady could have been my mother, but she came humbly and she apologized to me. But for me, I accepted the apology, but I think about all the months, the emotional baggage that I had attached to me because of this individual and what they did, So when we're talking about detach, not like that. Fast forward today, if I find myself in a similar situation, I still interact with the person. I still talk with them in a nice way. And every time I see them, I do not harbor negative emotions or thoughts because I understand that eventually it will consume me and it will end up affecting me negatively. So that is just some example that I give. That is not the way how we detach, where we become uncaring, unfeeling. So right now, I understand that, okay, there will be differences in opinion. Person's gonna say things to you that is not right or whatever, but you don't hold on to it, you don't hold that grudge, that feeling. And I know that, after years would have passed and so on, when I look back, I do have some regret with how I dealt with things, but I'm glad that I'm in a better position to just look back and let it go and say, wow, that was me then, but I'm a different person now. So I cannot talk about detachment without talking about attachment. So I will go into the term attachment because it's because of attachment, with some of us, we have difficulty detaching. So what is attachment and um, how it develops, right? So attachment develops when we believe our happiness depends on some external factor, something outside of ourselves. When we believe that our happiness depends on people, on events, on our position that we hold, uh, our relationships, our possessions, especially possessions. Sometimes we feel that the more we get, the more happy we will be. Um, Also, our expectation of people. So, attachment is when we feel that, you know, when I say expectation, it's like outcome. Like for me, I feel that I would be so much happy and person will recognize me once I got a distinction in the program, you know. I did get it. I did get it, but in the end, when I look back, it didn't worth it, because at the end of the day, what am I doing with it? It doesn't matter now. So yes, it's there on paper that you graduate with this distinction and so on, but just think about the sleepless nights unnecessarily, the cramming and the anxiety that come with, yes, I have to get this, I have to get it. So, you know, um, when we are attached like that, it really affects how we perform in the world. And we need to understand that nothing remains constant. Things change. We live in an evolving world. Things change all the time. And people do change. So the person that you are attached to, they may not be the same person all the time. They might outgrow you, or they might not want to be in your company because they are more attracted to something else, or it's a case where you might outgrow them and you may not know. So that person may not be the person who was your friend for 10 years. Suddenly, you're no longer friends because both of you have different interests. So persons get upset about that, right? Position change. Look, for example, in like 5 years' time, I'll be retiring. So, yes, I'm a head teacher now. But the time will come when it would be I was a head teacher. How do I function after losing that portfolio, that title, I should say? How will it affect me? For some person, it don't go down so well, you know? Relationship change, people change, events change, and we have to go with the flow. And it's not easy to do. I'm not saying it that it's an easy thing to do, especially if you weren't part of certain practices and you are not trying to evolve spiritually. If somebody had told me these things a couple of years back, like 5 years down the line, 10 years back, I would not have understand, but I understand now. And that is why I feel so grateful to be given this opportunity to share my experiences, right? So when the change happen, when things don't go the way how we want or the way we expect it does something to us physically. It does different things to us. It generates different feelings based on the situation. So I have a question. So whenever things don't go according to plan, according to how we expect, if somebody don't behave the way how we thought they should, or if we didn't get the things that we want, what are some of the emotions based on the situation that can be generated in the body physically? What are some of the emotions that could happen when we are disappointed? One, what are some of the physical experiences that can happen when we do not get what we expect from life?
I think Om Shanti. Um, I think knots in your stomach,
Good evening.
burning in your chest. um, those are more like physical feelings, disappointment, uh, from maybe lack of consideration or but those I guess are more emotional. But if you're talking about more physical, I would say like knots and heartbreak, whichever. Are you talking more physical or
Both
more?
emotional. I should have emphasized emotional.
Yeah, I would say disappointment is a big one in terms when you don't get or you have expectations and it doesn't go to the way that you want it to. Um, but yes, any
Before we go, disappointment. But when you're disappointed, how do you feel when you're disappointed? There's a feeling that comes with it.
I think for me viscerally, like I feel like not just I wouldn't say it's anger, you know. It's never like that like deep. I feel like anger is another emotion that causes anger that you just don't have the words for it. It just comes out as anger. Um, but yeah, for me, it's knots in my stomach. Like I feel I don't know how to explain my disappointment in another way. I don't know if anybody else can go deeper into it.
Thank you. Someone mentioned in the chat anger. Someone in the chat mentioned anger as an emotion when you don't get what you want, negative emotion that affects your body too. So sometimes could be a disagreement that stems into an argument, and that feeling of anger towards the person is generated. And in terms of the disappointment, yes, you will feel nuts, especially physically, yes, but I was looking for the word like sadness, feels like disappointment, the physical feeling that comes with it. Anyone else would like to share?
Yeah, besides
Something.
the sad feeling, what I had in mind, but what I also was thinking is frustration. It gives a really, a frustrating feeling, not being able to get out of it if you're get stuck in it, the disappointment.
Yes, frustration. And all of this is based on the situation we encountered. So the disappointment, one person mentioned anger, frustration, there is more emotion, there's more physical, the way we are affected, there's more than that. Anyone else would like to add to that?
Yes,
Frustration, yes.
she just shared something on expectation. Many times when we do things, there is that subtle expectation. We may be doing it, but we have certain expectations also. But you also touch on a few things that the world is always evolving, people will change. And unless we recognize that people will change and what they will be one day today, wouldn't be a year from now. I would have had similar experiences like yours, but I've worked on them. Disappointments, yes, but I found that it's more like an expectation. And if we can move away from that expectation, we won't be feeling, having those feelings of the knot in stomach and disappointments. And it can go even further as like bad wish. I won't want to say revenge, but bad wish for that person for what they would have done. But when you take to
Yes.
spirituality, you know that there is a karmic account that is being created, so you won't reach to that level. So for me, it's mostly expectation, but you have to recognize changes are happening all the time, and you cannot have that expectation that people will be the same they were 5 years ago as if it is as it is today. Thank you.
Right, so for the expectation. If you don't expect it, just if you're neutral about it, then there won't be any need for disappointment. There won't be any need for disappointment. Look, for example, today I planned a PowerPoint presentation. So I got up and I said, look, I'm going to put some slides together because I need to use images. And I envisioned how this presentation would go, how it's going to flow on this slide and so on, what I'm going to put. But it so happened I was back and forth with concerning preparation for grade 7 registration. There was an issue with the registration form. Anyway, by the time I finished that, because I didn't work today, school is closed. So by the time I finished that, I prepared lunch and all of that. I see it's after 3. So I just had to put make some notes, something together. It didn't go how I wanted to, but because of knowledge, because of experience and spiritual indoctrination, it did many years ago. So under the expectation and hindrance also to our spiritual growth development. So we also have sorrow, things like jealousy. We're jealous of a co-worker because we may think that they're favored. And then we have our own insecurity. Now, why I ask for you to mention the emotions is because it does something to us. You know, Sister Alicia talk about the nuts. I could tell that when I wasn't, based on what that person had done to me, whenever I see a person at the workplace, it evoked an emotion within me. And it was anger and a bit resentment and all that. That's why I avoided her. But she was the bigger person. She was a mature person, and she approached me. And she told me, she said, Sherry, I noticed you avoiding me at all costs. I know I've been wrong to you, and I'm sorry. So she was the stronger person, I should say, which then I wouldn't have recognized it then because I was young. And also I came from a background where somebody do you something is revenge. So my mother was like that. You do her something, she think of ways to get back at you. So thank God for this knowledge that I've had. I am so much, spiritually mature now. And, everything happened for a reason that I could look back and talk about these things. And I look to see that some of the experience that I have, it come in handy for me to share because I know that some of you could relate to it as well. Anyone else would like to share as it relates to that experience, that feeling? Anyone else would like to add to that? I know that you've had some experience. No one's judging you. I could tell you that. But it's good that, we could share our experiences and see how far we have come, how much we have grown. Hmm? Okay, so the reason why I asked about the emotional parts and how it affects the body is because, okay, it is not the only reason, but our emotions, let us say because of attachment, we have this expectation that this thing gonna turn out this way. We are disappointed. and we have that feeling, apart from knots in the stomach and all of that, based on what is the situation, our heart would pump faster. And that is why sometimes when you have a difference with somebody, it's good to forgive that person and move on. Because whenever you see that person, that feeling will come on. Now, I didn't see anything like any research or anything from a doctor or anything, but it is said that these emotions affect the body physically, and it causes stress and anxiety. So it is said, and that's not the only reason, this emotional thing. There are other factors before I go on. There could be other factors like genetics, maybe our diet, lack of exercise, and so. But one of the things that is being popping up, over and over again, is that stress can cause damage to the body. So ongoing can contribute to high blood pressure. You could get headaches, muscle tension, digestion, even your sleep. Because if something is on your mind, it's hard for you to lie down and sleep sound. Especially if you're not, spiritually grounded, you can lie down and sleep sound knowing that, okay, there is some issue over your head or something, or there is somebody who you had a difference with, and they're taking up residence in your mind. They're living rent-free in your mind. And sometimes the person don't even remember you. They're going about the business, but sometimes you remember the person and come and playing over and over, like a series, over and over again. This person do me this a month ago, 2 months ago, 1 year ago, years ago. And I could tell you that I have interacted with people, I still do, who bring up things that affect them. And I could see that it brings up anxiety. I could remember when I first started out to work at the new school. I was HM at one school, at a grade C school, and then I moved to a grade A school. And so because, I was really looking at the allowance that you get when you go to a higher grade and so on. So I didn't really have to move, but we always get this ambition in us. We never satisfied. So I decided to, take up this portfolio, the present one. When I went to the school and I was introduced to the deputy, she looked at me. I had the same hairstyle, this boycott hairstyle. And she looked at me and she said, oh gosh. She said, oh, you remind me. I should call her name. And I saw the anxiety in her. So I said, why you say that? She said, oh God, this person was a terrible person. She make her nearly leave this work. And so, she gave me a run for my money and she started explaining. And I realized that, okay, when she looked at me, it generated this feeling, this anxiety. And after then, I stopped using the hairstyle because her mention was she had the same haircut like you and you resemble her. So I changed my hairstyle totally up because I didn't want every time she look at me, it bring on that feeling and so on. But as time go by, she get to understand me. And she said, oh, miss, I could work with you. She said, oh man, you're a flexible person and you're not a hearty person, a power drunk person. So I was able to, like, put our mind at ease. But just think about what goes on when we physically is affected, our emotion affect the body. Anyone would like to share, Sister Pinry? I don't know if you're still there, but I know that your your professional background is that of a doctor. Is there any thing you would like to share on that in terms of how the emotions affect us physically and can cause illnesses? If Sister Kirina there, anyone to share?
Yes, there's you had mentioned this already, but um plenty of research is done on like emotions and how it affects the body physically, and it can make you sick, like you said, high blood pressure, stroke, heart attack. Like some people literally die from heartbreak syndrome. They go through something devastated and their heart literally breaks. So it does have a very, very big impact on the body. So yes.
Okay.
It's actually called psychosomatic disease. And sometimes we may have a minor illness, but because of the thoughts that we have towards that illness, it generates that level of stress that it becomes a major issue eventually. So if you check most most illnesses, the major factor would be the psychosomatic disease. And that's what you were just talking about, but that's what it's called, psychosomatic diseases.
Well, I never heard the word before, and that's quite enlightening.
No, it has been around for quite a while. And as you said, so much research was done, and it's actually now it has become one of the major factor in any illness, because the way we perceive, the way we think, everything, if you tell your body it's going to heal and you don't worry about whatever the outcome is, like when they do experiments with the placebo, you will find that, well, this is based on research, of course, and what I would have read, because I'm not an expert in that area, of course. You will find that those who take it on will get more ill, and those who just free flow with it, they recover very quickly if they have a positive outcome, or positive thoughts, I should say.
Wow, that is so true. I read something about the placebo, and where they did an experiment, and for a treatment, we had two study group. One was a control group, and the other a study group. And I'm not sure if I'm using the right term, but one was given a simple multivitamin, and the other was given the actual medicine to cure this illness or reduce the symptoms of this illness. The one that got the vitamin that would not have done anything to the body, because they were told that when you drink this thing, you're going to feel better. They improved considerably, just as the group that received the right treatment. So what you say is so true, and it just emphasizes how our thoughts and how the mind could affect the body, you know? So that is quite enlightening to know that they have research done on this. Anyone else would like to share?
I think the ordinary way to say it is mind over matter.
Mind over matter, indeed.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
when the mind get disturbed, the body react negative. Sometimes you get a headache, sometimes different symptoms come up. Once the mind get disturbed, the body
Yeah.
react.
That's
It's
so true.
quite
And
true. It's quite true.
that is why, if we have tools that we can use, which I will get into later, once we have the
That is,
tools, let us use it so that we could have this care.
exactly.
Not carefree in the sense of careless, mind you, but just live and enjoy life, and things would be so much better. I'm not saying that there's the only cause. I see Sister Kinnery is back. Sister Kinnery, you'd like to share? You're
Yeah,
muted, I think.
the last few lines when the mind is, not so right. So it is just the effect of the mind over the body. Whether it is good, then you call it as positive psychology, right? You've done research on all of that. So every thought has vibration and releases based on the different emotions. You'll have different chemicals that is released. So it has an impact. So when you have happy endorphins and happy hormones, when you're feeling happy, those are the hormones that are released, and it has an effect on the body. When we are in a meditative state, how the heart rate is low, the blood pressure comes down. And when I'm anxious, stressed out, the heart rate goes up, there's sweating, there's so many physical manifestation that happens as is the state of the mind. The effect of the state of the mind on the body is psychosoma. It could be disorder or just a connection between the mind, the spirit, and the body. Is that what you wanted to know, or in something
Yes,
else?
Mr. King. And somebody is saying here in the comments, tears of joy are sweet. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
But
It's just when I'm angry, but there is so many good feelings.
so we want to choose a good feeling.
Mhm.
And
Good feelings for yourself and for others and make you light.
yes, that is so true. That is so true. And when you talk about the headache, now sometimes the body gives an automatic response, I think, because even though I'm in the knowledge, I've been studying Raj Yoga for over 3 years now. I could remember when I was at work one day and I opened the group. We have a WhatsApp group. And in the WhatsApp group, they would mention like what record is outstanding and so on. And I was just about to go home. I was packing up to leave when I saw this message that a document had to be completed that day, early in that day. I don't know how I missed it. By then, everybody gone. I was the last person actually. And on seeing this information and seeing that I have to complete this document, instantly I felt a headache come on. Let me tell you, instantly a headache came on. But because I'm so grounded and so when I felt it, I said, no, 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 no. I said, no, forget about this. I spoke to myself. I said, you will record, go home. I left, I packed up calmly. I went home and I did the record the next day. And guess what? Surprisingly, days after, other head teachers of other schools submitted. So when I was anxious and saying that, oh my gosh, I missed the deadline, person submit days after me. And it just goes to show that sometimes we worry unnecessarily. But for me, that was an impulsive. It wasn't my intention to like bring on a headache, but my body reacted. So
Yeah.
you understand? So it kind of caught me off guard. And but I said, look, it's a work in progress, not perfect, but I'm glad that I know and I have the tools and I know how to use it. So attachment says, I cannot be happy unless things remain exactly as I want it. Detachment says, my peace belongs to me. It is not dependent on anything outside of me. So attachment, detachment, the two work in tandem because there won't be any need for us to be working on detachment once we're not attached and we just go with the flow. And nature is a very good example as to um being detached. And I know in our teaching as Raja Yoga student, we would talk about the lotus being in murky water, yet for all the petals remain clean and the petals don't get dirty. I mean, that is just one example. But an example that I would like to give apart from the lotus is when we talk about the autumn tree. Just think about it. We could use that tree. I mean, we don't have the season there in Guyana. But at autumn, in those countries where we have the seasonal change, those trees they shed their leaf. The leaf become brown. They don't hold on it because they know spring will come and they will generate new leaves again. There's no holding on. Also, we can think of a river that flows. It flows, it moves around any obstacle. It don't attach itself. But if you think about it, I could use this example that we can relate to. Think about your water tank. Every day, you pump up water in this tank. You use the water. But after a time, you have to clean that tank. It's not so. After a time, stuff builds up in it. Murky stuff builds up, and you have to clean it. Likewise, with attachment. If you don't go with the flow, things gonna attach itself to you. Negative feelings, negative emotions that could affect our body physically. And I wish I had known this before, but nothing before it's time, right? So I'm so grateful that I would have chosen a different path. You know, I have taken the path of least resistance. So there's also a next example with attachment. For those of us who have children, we say we want what's best for them, but sometimes we want to control them and we want what's best for us. Like I could remember, well, right now the grade 6 assessment is out, and I could share this here, my experience. At the time, it wasn't called grade 6 assessment, but it was called common entrance. So I wrote the exam. I wasn't too much of a bright student then. I didn't care about schoolwork, to be honest. I was very carefree. So getting for a second, it doesn't matter to me. I just used to have fun. I used to play. At the time, we didn't have technology. We had no phone, no television, anything. So I find a lot of joy in being out in nature with my friends, running around, rolling tire, climbing trees, and so on. So it was so beautiful then, you know, less distraction. I really enjoyed that period of time in my life. And I can remember the results came out, and I had to go to the school and collect that result. Now, before I wrote the exam, my mother was instilling in me, I want to get this school. They were saying, you must get a school here because I want to get no low school and so on. And I said, put in your best effort. If you don't get the school, or if I didn't get the school, something was supposed to happen to me. I can't remember if privilege would have been taken away or would have been getting some good lashes. I can't remember what was the promise, but I was told that, look, get this school and don't get no other school. The school was bored, this I could remember. So it so happened when I got up in the morning, my mother was very tense and very cold. I wasn't living too far from the school, so I went to the school. I collected the results, but in my mind, as a young child, I was like 11 then. I wanted to know why my mother was so cold. She wasn't saying much and all of that. I collect the slip. The teachers congratulated me. I got a school, one school below that school. So I ended up getting a school that was almost close to the school that my mother wanted, not me, because like I didn't have any interest. So I went home. Well, everybody was happy, but I wasn't because my happiness was dependent on how my mother reacted. So I collected the slip and I was giving it to her. And she called me, look at me, and she said, oh, you could keep it. I already know what school you have, aside from a dream. I said, which school? She said, oh, you get BEI. You should work more hard. She started quiet up and going, you know? And, that day I cried. I was so disappointed because the teachers were proud of me because they know me. I was very playful, not interested in school, and then had an ambition then and competitive then. So they were happy for me. She wasn't. And I think it caused both of us unnecessary stress because she decided to talk to persons to see if I could get the school still because I missed it by like a couple points, like 5 points or so. So they told her, they said, oh, look, if you carry X, Y, and Z to some office of the department, they're going to reconsider. She left home in the hot sun, go and stand up there like for a whole half. They didn't get to see the person, you know, over a school, right? So that is just something that I said, let me share, you know, how we can attach the outcome. She wanted this to me. And because I didn't get it, you know, she was upset. But somehow she had a dream about it. This to tell you the extent to which this thing was on her mind, to the extent where she had dreams, you know. So sometimes in life, we let things affect us to the extent where they disturb us all in our dreams, you know. So the root cause, I see time. Anyway, I see time is going, so I would like to close up. I will not be able to say everything, but the root cause of attachment is that we forget who we are. We forget that we are souls and we are peaceful souls of that. And because we are attached to the body and because of body consciousness, you find that we forget that, hey, I am a soul and that the soul, that being in us is eternal and is abundant. And if we truly see feeling, you understand? Nothing in this world here would us. We would not be so attached and have grief and sorrow because things didn't work out the way that we want. So we need to remind ourselves that I am not this body. I am a soul and a peaceful one of that. Know thyself. And also there is the Supreme Soul, the God, that is our Father, who is abundant also and who loves us. You understand? So God is my forever friend. God is my forever Father. And if we keep that within us, knowing that, hey, I am a soul, I'm free, I'm full of abundance, then things for us, life for us will be much more better. So I have some questions for you to ask yourself at this moment. You don't have to answer, but it will cause you to think and reflect. And it will help you to know also if you have an issue with attachment. So the first question you ask yourself, do I become upset when someone criticizes me? Do I expect appreciation from others? Do I fear losing someone or something? Do I become anxious about the future or dwell too much in the past? Do I try to control others? These are just some questions that you can ask yourself, and you could answer those questions honestly. So, what are the signs of a detached soul? And as I said before, not being uncaring. What are the signs? A detached soul, a person who goes with the flow, they listen calmly. They speak less. They think positively about themselves and others. They accept differences. They love unconditionally. There's nothing attached to appreciating someone or loving someone. And they forgive easily. A person who has an attached soul, or not embedded in this material realm, they don't react quickly or impulsively, but they trust the drama. And for those of you who know, when we talk about drama, what we're talking about, just the events. Because events, whether good or bad, can be beneficial for us. There is benefit in the drama, whether it is positive or negative, is the way how we perceive it. I know for some of you may not understand why I say that, but there is benefit in the drama, whether negative or positive. A detached soul remains stable during success and failure. So you're not only stable when things going away and you're happy and everything is going according to how you want, but when you get out those disappointments, you also say, oh, well, look, everything happens for good. Instead of asking why this is happening to me, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of playing, things over and over. I was like that. To some degree, I still am. Sometimes I would question things, but I catch myself very quickly. Now, and I don't prolong it. And that is the thing. Disappointment will come here, but don't prolong it. Sometimes a negative emotion may stir, but you don't have to feed it and let it expand and grow and erupt like a volcano. No. You should just stay calm and try to understand, okay, what is the message there? What is this teaching me? Someone says it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. To the person in the chat, thank you. Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm trying to explain. So in the Raja Yoga teaching, that we are told to be detached observer. We are also told to be trustee. And a trustee is someone who is not possessive about anything or anyone. You take responsibility and you do what you have to do. And you respect people's choices. So before I conclude, is there anyone who would like to add something to this discussion? Anyone would like to share? So let's just look at quickly at the benefits of spiritual detachment. I have some notes here that I will read. So I did some research on the benefits of spiritual detachment, and it says here, when you're spiritually detached, you have greater peace of mind. You make better decisions. You have healthier relationships. You are emotionally resilient. As Sister Kinley mentioned about the turtle and having a shell of security and protection. You reduce stress and anxiety. You have greater tolerance. And you have deeper love for yourself and those around you. You have increased spiritual power. You have freedom from fear and anxiety, as well as constant happiness. So, in closing, I would like to say that detachment is not the absence of love. It is the presence of spiritual wisdom. So when we hear detached, and so it's not like the example I gave where, okay, you are my feelings, I finish with you. From your life, totally ignore them and have ill feelings about them. No. It's just that, when we detach, we still go about interacting with that person, but without any animosity, or in terms of things that we want in our life, things that we want to achieve, it is not coming. We don't get anxious about it because we are peaceful soul, we are abundance. And everything that we need is right within us. Life reflects, life is like a mirror. When you look at it, you see certain things happening, like with me in terms of how I would, cut people short. I start getting more and more experiences like that and start intensifying. And guess what? It reduced now after I learned that lesson. No hold, no grudge, no animosity. So less of that experience would come to me now because I've learned my lesson. There's so many lessons to learn. So before we close, so is there anything anyone would like to share? Anything you would like to add? Because a learning experience for me as well. I don't know everything, but you know.
I think you've done an excellent job. It was a beautiful exploration of attachment, detachment, and spiritual detachment and the benefits. So, nothing from this side to add. Of course, it's from knowing to being is a journey. I think each one has to take time to personalize it, experiment with it, try and test it and see. And I think that's where it is now. So maybe if you want to lead us into a experiential meditation, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I will.
All right. Thank you, Sister Sherry, for the presentation.
Thank you too for having me. Thank you very much. So we'll just sit comfortably. So as we sit comfortably, become aware of your surroundings. Of any noise you might hear around you. The rustle and bustle. The passing of a vehicle, you can hear it. The rustling of branches outside. As you become aware of your surroundings, you go deeply within yourself, that special part of you, that eternal fire, that inner core that only you can perceive, that inner core that is untouchable, that is filled with peace, that is filled with love, and filled with wisdom, and filled with happiness. And as you recognize that being within you, that light, have that assurance that that is the essence of you, that is so powerful, that is resilient, that can withstand anything. Nothing outside can hurt you. You are here to play your role, to play your part, to be a detached observer, to observe the scene and the drama, like a movie on a screen. Remind yourself, it's just an experience. Remind yourself that you are attached to nothing. You are attached to no one. Remind yourself that you are peaceful, independent, loving soul who can overcome any challenge, who can withstand any form of it. We are soulful beings. You are the being of life. You
not to you, but for you. Because I know this is the truth. Take these words in. I am light, I am light. 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 I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dreams I left behind. I am light. I am light. I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Very good.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you for joining. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.